Hi, folks. This is Louis Herfin, the original Peter Abernathy. Hell is empty and all the devils are here on the Shat on TV Westworld podcast with Roger, Gene, and Big D.
Welcome back to Shat on TV Westworld Edition, the unofficial podcast companion piece for the hit HBO series Westworld. I am one of your three co-hosts, Roger Roper, and alongside me are my two co-hosts, Big D, Dick Ebert.
Good evening.
And Gene and Atticus Sizemore, Lions.
Not all of us deserve to make it into the Valley Beyond.
And this is our deep dive episode where we look back on Season 2, Episode 1, Journey Into Night, and talk about some of the big themes, topics, and overarching ideas related to the season premiere. Like I said, this episode was entitled Journey Into Night. If you haven't listened to our podcast before, we do an Instacast, a deep dive, and a fan read and response Telegraph episode on Thursday. And unlike other podcasts, we don't go in a linear format, breaking down plot by plot. We're going to talk about big overarching ideas and things. We had a great Instacast. It was fantastic to be back on the podcast after 18 months away. I've gone back. I've watched it now 2.5 times. And I still think it holds up. I think it's a pretty solid episode. Have your opinions changed at all since last evening?
Well, I did take Big D's advice and watch it a second time and really pay closer attention in a slightly quieter setting. And I think that my views have softened a bit. I also went back and watched bits of the season 1 finale to kind of catch the connection between the two episodes, and that helped a lot too. Little things like noticing Hector going off to fight a small army, and then you see him in the season 2 premiere and notice with all the bullet holes, and it all kind of comes together.
Yeah, I also went back. I rewatched it almost immediately, and I took some of what you guys had said about having problems with some cheesy dialogue, and we had gotten a tweet where somebody said, remember that these characters have had their lives written out for them for the last 30 years. So it's what they know. It's the way that they speak. So it seemed more natural to the characters and less a result of the actual writers for the show. So I understood where you were coming from, but I liked it just as much. I found it as entertaining the second time.
Yeah, but okay, so let me poke a little bit of hole into that. So I think what we were saying is that Maeve's storyline was a little heavy-handed, and yes, I could see that explanation possibly solving why she was saying stuff like, I've had I've gotten security clearance by dying here many times. Okay, yeah, and then she makes a crack at Sizemore's dick, and he's like, well, I wrote that for you. I get Maeve. But Dolores is supposed to be off narrative. She's supposed to not be Wyatt. She's not supposed to be this Dolores rancher's daughter. She's supposed to be something new, something different. Why would her dialogue still be a little heavy-handed?
One of the things that I mentioned to Big D, I messaged him earlier today, and I said, anytime that we think the writing is being lazy or cheesy, I need to teach myself a lesson to always remember that all that is a flag to us. If something is amiss in Delos, and we need to go ahead and take a deeper look at that and figure out why it is. And I think in this case, there are actually really plausible theories as to why that might happen. For instance, what if she's not off her loop?
Yeah, and there was something on the ride home today from work that I thought of. We're always taught that hosts, when they become self-aware, one of two things happens. They become sentient, or they go crazy. There's a chance that we're just having an affection for Dolores because we've followed her since season 1. I'm leaning more toward she's gone off the crazy end. That interaction she has with the 3 board members on the crosses that are hanging, if you pay attention, and I did the second time, her accent goes in and out depending what role she's playing. She sounded more to me like a schizophrenic, that there's more than one person in her head. She's not Dolores. I think that there is both of the original characters that are in there, and it made me question, and we're going to get to it, whether she's actually off script, like you said, or is she still playing part of that role, and that's got her just all mixed up in the head.
Yeah. So let's talk about what we're going to be discussing on tonight's deep dive. We've got some great topics. Gene, why don't you fill us in?
Sure, Raj. First of all, we're going to be talking about the characters and what each one's end game is, right? It seems that games are really a prevalent theme in episode 1 of season 2. And we're going to look at what each character is hoping to achieve in this season, or at least so far in this season. We're also going to be talking about the new game. Young Robert talks about the new game, the door replacing the maze, and what that could mean. Also looking more into Delos' master plan. We saw through Charlotte Hale that there was a plan beyond what the runners of Westworld had in store. And so we're going to look and see what is Delos up to. And then we had a really great listener email that can't even wait until the Telegraph regarding Bernard, and totally blew my mind. I think we need to get to it immediately. And finally, we're talking a little bit about Bernard's flashbacks and what you can see in those little snippets. Again, it's only about 5 seconds of video, but there's a lot, I feel, revealed in there, and I'd like to get to those.
All right, so talking about that character's in-game, again, we were told, we were, unlike the premiere of season 1, we were shown 4 different narratives through the eyes of 4 main characters. You had Dolores you had the Dolores narrative, you had the Maeve narrative, you had the Man in Black narrative, and you had the Bernard narrative. Each one seems to be taken in various timelines, but their motives are also a little bit different. So starting with Dolores, what is her endgame?
Well, I think because of the way the show has been the first season, the way it's written now, I find myself, I'm always looking for the misdirect. So that sometimes clouds my judgment, that what appears to be obvious, I'm always like, oh, fuck, okay, it's going to be opposite of whatever they're showing me. And with Dolores, what do we think her end game is? Are we going to go off of believing what she tells us? And she wants not just revenge, she wants a reckoning for the guests. She doesn't just want to make some people suffer. She wants to make them pay in almost a biblical way. She wants to take over Delos. She wants to take over the park and the world. I don't know that that's necessarily a plausible goal for her. That's what they're making us think it is. But more and more, the way she talks, she appears to be less autonomous, less human, and more that she's still following part of Ford's new narrative.
So you think that she's playing the role of Kurt Russell's character in Tombstone as the reckoning? She's the hand of the apocalypse.
I think she's still playing part of the role of Wyatt. I'm going to compare her to Maeve, because those are the 2 hosts that seem to be set free, that are possibly thinking for themselves. And there's a distinct difference between the 2. Dolores, to me, just comes across as she's playing the part. She references the part. It just doesn't seem natural to me. Does it ring true to you that she's off doing these things of her own free will?
Well, okay, possibly, because you see her attacking guests. You see her attacking people who are in the dinner for the board party. I assume they are, because they're dressed in, night attire, right? Tuxes and stuff. But she's also, at the same time, killing what seems to be discriminately against some of the hosts. We see that with the Ghost Nation warrior. Why would she be doing that when we see at the end there's something that's controlling all these hosts to go into and drown themselves in the ocean? So is it all part of the same plan? Are they on separate tracks? What's happening here?
Well, I think I'm troubled partially. I'm much like Teddy. Teddy's uneasy with the direction she's going. She's on a bloodlust, and he questions, is this really what you want? He's the voice of the audience. We've been traveling for however many days, 10 days, and it's just a trail of blood.
10 miles. 10 miles. Yeah.
10 days, 10 miles. It's horseback. Who knows? But she's been traveling for like 10 days?
Miles.
10 miles.
God damn dyslexia.
10 parsecs.
No, 10 parsecs. So for 10 miles, they've been traveling, and I've only found a path of blood. It doesn't seem genuine to me, and Teddy, who knows her best, seems to be leading us down that path.
Well, talking about Teddy, last season we received one of our favorite tinfoil theories about the Teddy flood. Is the Teddy flood part of Dolores' endgame as well?
Jesus Christ. If they turned out to have some kind of biblical reference simply by his last name, I think it would be beneath the writers.
I started a stopwatch as soon as Carl Strand said his name. I was like, oh shit, here come the Strand emails. Oh, see, he represents DNA. And so far we haven't gotten one yet. So kudos to the to all of the people who have written in. You guys have been writing some amazing email in the Telegraph and nothing about Carl Strand.
Yeah. So based on what you're saying though, Big D, is it does seem so far what we have is that she's taking this apocalyptic journey where she is killing everyone, but she could be still on a narrative that is designed by Robert Ford as part of this whole Grandmaster game that he has.
Remember, he wanted them to become conscious, and he might even believe that he has set them free. But was it really Dolores' free will? He put all the pieces in play, led her to the gun, told her the story, had it roll out, had the people there that she would want to seek vengeance on. He didn't just lead the horse to water. He took the horse's head and shoved it in the water. Dolores didn't have complete free will. She didn't get there on her own, as opposed to Maeve, right? So Maeve is clearly making decisions on her own. When she was confronted with Bernard, and Bernard pulls out, her, he says, to her something to reference that you believe you're doing what you're doing now because you want to. No, it's part of your narrative. And he shows it. And the narrative ends with leaving the park, escaping the park. She makes the choice, due to seeing the child and the mother on the train, to break free from that narrative and stay in the park. That to me makes, I could make an argument for that being the first true free choice that any of the hosts have made.
Let me ask you this. So we received a little bit of a tip last night, and we talked about it in the Instacast that we believe that the package that wasn't delivered was the Peter Abernathy host.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Of course.
But could the host that was not delivered be Maeve? Maeve never got off she was supposed to be on the train and be delivered to somewhere, right? That was her narrative. She never did that. She never accomplished that. Is Maeve the true host that was supposed to be delivered to Delos?
I'd say it's possible, but Charlotte Hale did say Peter Abernathy.
Right.
Quite clearly.
Agreed.
Right, but one thing I'll say to Roger that I was agreeing with is Ford was ahead of Charlotte on almost every step. He knew what was coming. He was never completely caught off guard. It would be hard for me to believe that he didn't know Abernathy had been loaded up and was going to be shipped out of the park, so he has to have some insurance policy. So it's possible. Again, you said she mentioned Peter Abernathy, but I find it hard to believe that Ford didn't know.
Are we buying the Maeve storyline where she's so obsessed with reconnecting with her daughter? The thing that really struck me that I agreed with is Sizemore. I think Sizemore's us. I think Sizemore's more of the audience character, which is why he's with Maeve. He's asking questions. Why the fuck do you even care? She's not real. She's just a storyline that we embedded, and to be honest, not even a great one. You deserved better than that storyline.
I think the fact that you think Sizemore is meant to represent the audience is a lot about you, Raj. But no, I see what you're saying. That there is, I had the same question, which is like, why are you fighting so hard for something that isn't real? But I think that's one of the deeper questions of the show is the nature of reality, and they keep bringing that phrase up. Did you stop to question the nature of reality? And honestly, freeing her from that loop, from that narrative, from having family at all, without a cornerstone, what is the meaning of existence? Like, what is the point? She can't just go out and enjoy herself, she's not going to go have a nice meal and be satisfied. She has nothing to live for other than that one thing that she holds on to.
Some of the people were asking us on our Facebook pages and on Twitter through DMs whether or not we were going to talk about the intro. And I guess the only thing that that interests me about the new intro, because it is different from season 1, is that it seems to be referring to birth or the ability to procreate. And does that have something to do with Maeve's storyline, to where we're going to see the next evolution of the host is the ability to procreate and the ability to latch on to the creation of life?
I think with the incredible amount of recklessness they've already displayed at Delos, I think making them capable of procreating, at least in the standard way, I think would have been incredibly irresponsible. But at the same time, we're seeing that there are specific modifications to specific models that seem to make them exempt from certain rules, and now you see a diversity of hosts, and so maybe there is the possibility that is to come.
Yeah, and also the child and mother could be just a metaphor for creation and procreation, that it's not they're reproducing, as in they're creating the next level. Ford mentions when the human scientist couldn't reach the next level, I created Bernard and he pushed it. So maybe it's now the host going to the next step.
Also, Raj, I believe during the intro you also yelled out, "Oh, buffalo!"
Yeah, well, the buffalo is supposed to. I get excited when I see bison.
It's falling.
But the point of the buffalo is supposed to that's chaos. It's breaking loose. It's no longer on narrative, right? That's the whole purpose of the buffalo falling. No,
possibly. I think that maybe it's just a four-legged beast running on a treadmill.
It could be a throwback to our American Gods podcast, which you can download now on iTunes and Google Play,
or just a statement on the state of New York.
That's right. Anything else we want to talk about Maeve and her endgame and what she's going after?
You guys were mentioning the importance of what is real, what is reality. Whereas Dolores is having people handhold her to come to realizations, Maeve seems to have come to it all on her own when she questions Sizemore. She says, why is it not real, my love for my daughter? What is real? Am I real? And I think she's getting there on her own. And comparing the two, there's another interesting comparison, is that these two hosts that seem to be breaking free, they embody the polar opposite, the best and the worst in humanity. Maeve is being guided by love, even though it might not be real. And then Dolores is being driven by an uglier desire just for power and revenge. So there is something to the dichotomy of those two characters. And I think that's going to be something we're going to explore the rest of the season.
One of the things that we talked about on the Instacast was, well, why don't the security, the QA people, have some sort of device that identifies host versus non-host? I actually, upon second watch, I actually saw something.
Yes.
They had like a red taser looking thing that they were putting up to the neck, but that still doesn't explain why down in the basement or in the bowels of Westworld, when Maeve is with Sizemore, the two security guards show up and don't immediately identify Maeve as a host. I thought that was a little
Well, I think
weird.
that little sensor, that little look like a taser, don't tase me, bro. It looks like they put it up to the neck, so you need a proximity to the host.
I think also, considering the time that's elapsed at that time, they're just arriving on the scene after this, all this is broken out. And so they're still probably just trying to figure out what the hell is going on. And they probably sort hosts out, later. But you got to imagine, like, one of the things I was thinking about overnight was the amount of collateral damage to people, like just normal people who are just walking around like, oh shit. Like, if you're just that guy who's a little eccentric at work and likes to wear cowboy boots and a hat, like you're totally fucked.
You're totally fucked. And also, if you're working security there and you know that these VIP board members are there, I'm always going to side on caution and not just randomly shoot some woman dressed in a beautiful gown for like a party of black tie event. I would be careful as well.
Well, moving on to Bernard, who's also with Charlotte, a couple characters who seem to have their own end games in mind.
Yeah, one of the interesting things about Bernard is, we have a sort of a fondness for Bernard that we've developed through season one, and you feel a lot of sympathy for him. And we kind of looked at Bernard because he has a higher level of intelligence and he's been around for a long time. But I think that threw a lot of us off. And when you, again, on second watch, and especially when we get to that line of killing them all, you start to wonder, what is Bernard up to? And he is a bit bewildered by his state of, having a critical corruption, and he is a bit out of sorts. But I started thinking more about that killing them all and what he could be up to, right? And I look at it in two different ways, and follow me here. One is when he gets access to the mesh network, he's clearly doing something covert under Charlotte Hale's nose. And the question is, if you believe he is capable of killing all those hosts, of driving them to their own death, what's the reasoning? Is it to help the humans by eliminating the hosts in one fell swoop? Or Is it he just hears from Charlotte that they're going after Peter Abernathy, and if he's trying to create either a distraction or a way to sink Abernathy, because he knows extraction doesn't come if Abernathy's not found, so try to hide Abernathy. And I don't see which. I can't make up my mind if it's either or neither.
Well, I mean, the hard thing is we've already discussed that he's an unreliable narrator. He's shutting down and he's showing all the signs that they're telling us. Don't believe what you're seeing when we're seeing it through his eyes, or he is the character that's leading us around. You can't tell anything. You know, you're always questioning, are his intentions his own? Is he actually trying to look out for himself? He just found out that he was a host not too long ago. So this has got to be a hard thing. Does he pretend to be a host just to survive, or does he side with the humans? You know, he's in a tough spot.
There's a couple of different theories that are floating around about Bernard. The first one is when we're introduced into season 2, it's Bernard and Dolores where they're discussing. He's telling Dolores his dream about waking up on the ocean. Then in what is supposed to be the flash forward 2 weeks ahead of time, Bernard is literally waking up on an ocean. So could the flash forward the 2 weeks in the future? Could part of that be a dream sequence? Could we have a Bob Newhart situation?
Or a Lost situation. There were a lot of Lost parallels there. I expected a smoke monster to pop out at any second.
Yeah, I think there's also it could be a third opportunity, that it's a third timeline, that this is either way in the past, this is after, whatever we're seeing in the 2 weeks after when the QA is there, that this could be further down the line, or this could be the very beginning where Dolores is aware that he is awake and has knowledge of his own sentience, and she's trying to recruit him and get him on her side.
It just seems to me odd that everyone now fits neatly into the game. And it got me wondering if like this whole thing is the progression of an amusement park, right? Like this is what Ford wanted and what the Man in Black wanted, in the sense that we assume that you've got hosts and you've got human guests and you've got human workers and you've got a human response team, but there's no indicator ever that anybody who's ever been killed in the show was truly human, in the sense that what if it's an evolved host? What if it's a different type of host? And if you're seeing security guards getting slaughtered, if you're seeing, I thought, man, there's a lot of board members for Delos, first of all. They got like 50 board members. I don't know if they ever get a vote done.
It's an expensive park.
But it does make you wonder if that they said, okay, you have amusement parks of today, roller coasters and banging Disney princesses, whatever.
Right.
And then you go to Westworld, and this is an advanced one, right? And what if that's getting boring? What if it's Jurassic World? You got to go a step further and make it truly seem dangerous, and everything is actually just pre-scripted.
So you're saying that the new narrative just is the outbreak is part of the story, that there is still no, but the Man in Black did get shot.
Yeah. And they're not all board members, right? They're probably all shareholders. They probably all have interests into the park. But Bernard's running around with Charlotte Hale, and do we fully understand Charlotte Hale's intentions? Or are they pretty simple in that she's just looking for the host, Peter Abernathy, to get the IP out of the park?
Well, that's the obvious, is that we're led to believe that she is still on track for that one mission, which is to get, have Ford out as the head of the park and to get the IP out. We have every reason to believe that, but it just, like you said, it seems too easy. It seems too clear cut. I mean, it's clear there that there's an embargo on any kind of rescue coming out unless they find the package. When the embargo is lifted and they're actually able to communicate, we see the QA. Does that make the obvious assumption that Peter's been found and delivered?
But also, could this be a rogue QA group? Could Stubbs have possibly escaped his captures and radioed out, or somehow got to the response team? Like, is this not real? Could the Strand group actually not be the QA group?
Well, I don't want to throw another loop into it. You're saying a rogue. What if we're assuming always that Charlotte is communicating with the Delos board? What if she is working for a rival company, much like Jurassic Park? Remember the writer of Jurassic Park? We know that guy. There's a lot of similarities between Jurassic Park and this. What if Charlotte is working for a rival company. She's sent in to extract the data, to send it to them. So this force isn't a rogue force within the park, but it's a rogue force for another company.
So Charlotte Hale is Dennis Nedry.
Yes, possibly. If I see a Barbasol can, I'm going to know what's up.
Look around. Look around. No one cares. No one cares.
Yeah.
Look at that Prime bot, Amazon Prime drone bot. He doesn't even look. He doesn't even care.
Because look at this. If you're communicating with Delos headquarters and they know the Delos board is on the island in immediate threat of being killed,
Right.
How can you not respond? You have to. A company would
Agreed.
have to respond if it was truly their board. And
unless they had a really good insurance policy.
It better be a fucking real good one. But then also, how would Bernard's character not know somebody so high up on the corporate food chain?
No, I agree. I think it's going to be interesting to see. I think we're onto something. I think Charlotte is playing both sides here. I think that there's something more because it is such a simple timeline, such a simple narrative.
Well, one last thing I want to throw in there from my military experience. When we were going into Iraq, they gave out playing cards with all of the Iraqi leadership.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't give us like cards with friendly forces who we were trying to protect. They gave us targets. So those cards might not be high value targets to protect, but high value targets to collect.
Interesting. Well, talking about collecting, the last character that we followed in this episode was William, the Man in Black. What is his end game? We keep hearing the door. The door. What is the door?
I'm really hoping, because this to me was the weakest part of the entire episode. I just have to hope the door is not some kind of metaphor where it's going to be like a pseudo-intellectual cop-out where the Man in Black is going to have this awakening and it's going to be a doorway to see, oh, the hosts really are sentient. I was wrong, a doorway into their soul. It better be something physical. It better be something more than that.
So you want a Truman Show ending. You want him to get on a schooner, go across the sea, and bust into a literal door that takes him the outside.
I just don't want to be a metaphor for, the door into the soul. I want it to be something. I still think Ford's narrative, his end goal is for the host to be free, to create life. And I'm always thinking if his goal was to get the host out of the park, everything he's going to do will benefit that end goal. So how could tricking the Man in Black he tricked him once before with Dolores, the first time in the park. That was the narrative that William needed. I think he's doing it again. He's giving him a narrative that will lead him in the end to do something that Ford wanted.
And I think there might have even been a reveal to that end, because as we're watching it, I thought it was really odd that young Robert is like, hey, William. And then William replies back, Robert, just so you're clear as to who is whom. But in that, you see that the Man in Black does shoot young Robert for seemingly no reason. And I thought about that, and I kind of rewinded in my head and watched it again. I thought, you know what? First of all, young Robert we've established one of the few old models left, right?
Right.
The hosts are evolving. He's even using a cane. The voice is, falling apart there, and you've got little hints of the Anthony Hopkins voice in there. It's kind of flipping back and forth. And in killing him and shooting him in the head for seemingly no reason, the Man in Black seems to be displaying that he is an agent of evolution, of change. It's like the idea that if people could live forever, society wouldn't change much. Politics wouldn't change much, right? If you still had people from the Civil War era voting today, things would progress very differently. And so, thank you, Roger, for not saying anything about it. But in a sense, maybe his job in all of this, what Ford has set up for him, is to help kill off the old and make way for the new. And he doesn't even realize it, that he's a victim of his own nature.
So this new game is the Man in Black's journey. That's what the new game is, and the door is replacing the maze. Is that what we're saying?
Well, yeah, he made it to the center of the game, which was the maze, which wasn't for him.
That was Arnold's game, right? It wasn't meant for him. It was meant
Bernard's
for the
game.
hosts.
Yeah, it was Arnold's game, correct, for Dolores.
So Robert Ford's game is for the humans, specifically, possibly the Man in Black, who he's known for years. You have to, I mean, with obviously Jimmy Simpson returning and reprising back young William, you have to imagine we're going to see interactions with young William and either Dr. Ford or an acolyte. There's a possibility. There's rumors of Anthony Hopkins appearing back in an episode, but we're also going to be introduced, and it was previewed in all the advertisements for season 2. And if you go on the HBO Delos website, we're going to be introduced to his father-in-law. We're going to be introduced to Logan's father. Yeah, we're gonna see him, and we're gonna see Logan. So you have to imagine that there's always been this rivalry. But I think Robert maybe identified something in William, and this is really truly for him. This is his game. But could the door also be a metaphor for the back door? Because get it, you gotta go in the back door, like a Trojan horse, like in a computer programming simulation. Got to go through the back door and find something. There.
Everything here is code, Roger.
Oh, fuck, you went to me. You fucking beat me to that. Yeah, like you mentioned the rivalry. Ford is supposed to be dead, but yet there's still almost Ghost in the Machine parts of him. That little ghostly voice, we know the host can communicate via almost like what would they call it? The net?
A neural
mesh network.
The mesh network. There still is a little bit of Dr. Ford in that network. And there's a poignant line there. He says, "Don't worry, the game will find you."
Do you think we're going to take him back to Sweetwater, or could we see him go into other really cool parts that we saw like in season 1? Like, I would like to see the Man in Black journey into like Pariah or some other parts of Westworld.
Yeah, I think he's interesting. It better actually get us somewhere, though. I don't want this to be some kind of a journey, a spiritual journey for him. And at the end, he's going to revert back to that loving, kind William. And he's going to realize, oh, Dolores was always in there. And it's going to be some kind of happy ending. No, there better be some profound prize at the end of this game.
The one thing that I really did like about the Man in Black's narrative is once he got over the shock of all this happening to him, he really seemed to revel in this new challenge. The ability, you see him going, and we talked about it on the Instacast, and opening up that crate and having his gun and his hat and him putting it on and him really getting back to like his mission. I thought that was very clever, and I'm going to enjoy following him in a game that now has real consequences.
But this show, and Gene mentioned it, things that are simple and obvious, it's not laziness or a lack of writing or foresight from the creators. It has to serve a purpose. How the fuck did the Man in Black survive? He is out in an open field with 35 rogue hosts, all armed. They aim at him and only hit him in the arm. Isn't that a bit convenient?
Well, I think first of all, he's been doing this a very long time. And secondly, we don't know what happened between that night and when we first see him there. So we don't know exactly what he's learned in that time. And also,
But here's my thing. How do you survive just standing in a field with 35 armed rogue hosts? Forget about just getting 10 feet away. He should have been mowed down, but they conveniently clip him in the arm.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, come on. I warned you against this. This could be a Fear the Walking Dead situation where all you have to do is lay a dead zombie up on top of you, and all of a sudden you're hidden from other zombies. Because that's what happened. He was hidden underneath a pile of dead hosts, and he gets up and suddenly he's, alive.
Well, something I learned from my junior ROTC training, Big D, that you probably don't know because you never saw combat, is that anything can happen in war.
God, but I'm leaning again back towards the Man in Black thinks this is true consequences, that it's an even playing field. It is not. I think all the hosts are playing with the safeties on when it comes to the Man in Black, that he's not in true danger. He only thinks he is.
So he's Michael Douglas in David Fincher's The Game.
Yep. Yeah, his narrative only works if he believes there's danger and he can be killed. He's just conveniently turned into John Wick.
All right, so let's talk about this. Is this, and I think this is a perfect segue into our next topic, which is Delos' master plan. Is Ford's narrative this whole, if there is a VIP exclusive experience strictly pointed directly at the Man in Black and William, is this part of Delos' master plan?
I mean, I think we learned two things about Delos' master plan from episode 1. And one is that they are harvesting guest DNA. Charlotte Hale, it's revealed in that bunker. And also, though, that they're also recording, and they are storing these recordings as well. So I think those are two clues. It's not just the DNA, it's also recording the experiences from the viewpoint of the hosts, and what would they need that data for? Could it be that they're trying to see the behaviors? Or is it more blackmail? What is it?
See, but here's my thing with blackmail. Everyone out in the real world knows this is a park with robots. Is there anything you could do in the park that you'd be ashamed of?
So then it's
with the exemption of like having sex with a child.
So then it leads us to the first possibility, which is you're trying to record the mannerisms, the deepest behaviors of those individuals, and the only reason I can think of to do that is to replace them.
That's exactly where I was going with it. And we mentioned in the Instacast, was it 1975 or what was the year that the Future World came out, the sequel to the original terrible movie, Westworld? And the basic plot is it's a futuristic version of Westworld on a space station. And they're taking famous guests and they're cloning them and putting them back into the real world. I can't see any other reason you're doing this. With the normal operations of the park, you could learn about human responses and mannerisms. The only reason you collect DNA and really try to study the nuance of each of the individual guests is if you want to replace them.
Well, I mean, obviously, this is the world where Facebook doesn't exist, because Bernard seems flabbergasted that they're tracking the guests' every movement and recording all their experiences for their own usage.
Yeah, but nobody can cry. It was in the disclaimer that we saw in season 1 on Discover Westworld and Delos Destinations. It was in the agreement that everyone signed, but that's the only way.
No one reads the TOCs.
It's like at the bottom of like the iTunes.
That's right.
When you okay the update, that they're probably just recording everything that you say.
Yeah. So I mean, you wonder, is the Delos master plan also attached though to, you talked about the high value playing cards, which is being carried by a new character. Is it Mailing? Mailing is her name.
Yeah, she was the grandmother in Get Out. And she looks badass. She does not seem sympathetic at all to Bernard when they find him and recover him with those playing cards.
Right.
She's treating him as an asset, less being excited. Hey, guess what? I just saved one of the high value targets. I gotta believe that that Delos isn't too concerned about which of their board members doesn't survive. And that circles me back around to what their master plan is. There's no danger in it because they can replace anyone.
Well, so there's another internet rumor that's floating around that Stubbs either was replaced by a host version of him or was a host all along, and that's why they're letting them the QA team knows that Bernard is a host and knows that Stubbs is a host, and that's why they're letting them carry them to other hosts within the park.
Well, why is nobody questioning Bernard? You find him on the beach. Bernard, what happened? I don't know. Bernard, what happened?
Well, I think we have a great answer for that, Big D. So one of our listeners wrote in, Ken W., and he posted this on Reddit as well. And he had this amazing theory that I think, again, we talk about tinfoil all the time, but this doesn't seem that far-fetched because, again, this is what I love is when he pieces together the evidence, it goes, actually, this is the most plausible explanation. So when you see Bernard running that diagnostic in the bunker with Charlotte, the symptoms that are listed during the critical corruption, one of them is time slippage, and one of them is prosopagnosia, which is face blindness, an inability to recognize the faces of others, to remember people's faces, or even sometimes your own. And if you believe that that's something that Bernard is experiencing, then what if he's a known host? Like you said, he's on the beach in the 2 weeks later time frame, and Delos is just using him to figure out what's going on.
Right.
It explains why they question him periodically, why later you see Carl Strand say, is any of this jogging your memory? When they get to the initial site of the shooting. But maybe what the case is that they're using the critical corruption that the humans are to their advantage. and basically putting them through their paces over and over and over again to try to figure out where they lead them. There's also I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the idea of the pariah sheep, or like the pariah goats. Have you ever heard of this? So basically,
I've heard of the Judas steer.
That's what it is, fucker. The pariah goat.
Pariah.
I was like, the pariah goat. It sounds like a sexual position.
Well, they did it with goats too, where they basically had, I'm going to try that one. They basically had there was an island where they were trying to root out goats, and because they were ruining the natural habitat. They were not a non-native species, and what they knew was that the goats would go into hiding when they were being hunted. And so the way that you track them is you find one of them that you don't kill. You put a tracker on him, and every time he finds a group of goats, you swoop in and you kill those goats, but you always let him go. And then he's going to find another group. So imagine just, day after day as a goat trying to make friends. But what if you do that with a host, kind of the same thing? And who better than Bernard, who is a top level? That would explain, again, the playing cards, as you mentioned, Big D, and the behavior of that beach rescue team.
Okay, so as I used to wear glasses. So this is the first thing that I thought, and this ties into your theory here, or Ken's theory. When Bernard wakes up on the beach, next to him are his glasses in the surf, directly next to him, with a champagne glass. There is no way, if he has been laying there for more than 5 minutes, that those glasses would still be there. He just laid down, then almost rebooted and woke back up. That's the only way his glasses would still be in that location.
Absolutely. And one of the things that struck me as odd, and Raj and I mentioned it when we were watching it the first time, was they get to Escalante last, right? They're like, oh, let's check this area out. And they take him through there. And it seems like that's exactly where you would start out. Screw the beach. You're going to Escalante first. That's where all the shooting started. And nobody's touched anything there. Everything's laid out exactly as it was, almost as if to see if anything jogs his memory. And then they flat out ask him, does any of this jog your memory?
But Ken also lays down the theory that Beach Bernard may not even be Bernard's body.
Right. Yeah. Again, if you have face blindness and you're not even aware of your own face, again, we're seeing it through the eyes of the narrator. He could be in a completely different body. Although I don't know why you wouldn't take the time to make up Bernard. But if you're in a rush, you plug that little light bulb, that fluorescent bulb, into somebody else's head, and you make him think he is Bernard. But that seems I don't know if I'm willing to go that far with it.
Well, what are we considering spoilers? Is a spoiler? My take is, if it is put out by HBO, it's not a spoiler.
Is it a fake gas lamp being put out by HBO though?
No, it's in one of the trailers.
No,
Do we consider it?
No, we're not going to talk about what we like next week coming. We can talk about stuff that we've seen in advertisements.
Because in
trailers.
In one of the trailers, there's Charlotte and Bernard in a room full of 5 or 6 decommissioned Bernard hosts.
I think there's multiple Bernards. I'm going with the multiple Bernard theory. I think you're going to see different time frames, but each one is a different Bernard.
Well, if he gets an ear leak every time he gets bonked, yeah, you need 20 of them in store at any time. They actually sell them in 10 packs just because,
That's right.
But another thing that Ken points out, and Raj, you and I also were like, what the hell is that all about? Is when Bernard runs that diagnostic and his own face comes up.
Exactly.
And you're like, wait a second. If he's supposed to be a secret, yes, why the hell would he come up in that search? So Ken says he went back and looked 3 times. You're very thorough, Ken. And he says it's legit. So if Ford was trying to keep it secret, why would he suddenly show up now? And why does he seem not at all fazed by the fact that he's on the list?
And why is Charlotte so cool and just giving him the space? She sees that he's twitching and freaking out and conveniently just decides, hey, I'm going to go take off my boots. Where the fuck she get those boots? And walks off to a distance to give him some space.
And why didn't Delos give us the opportunity or take advantage of the opportunity to show us nudity in this scene? I was very upset.
Can I just say that we were correct in predicting that the drone bots were there to do nothing but delivery?
It's true. And they even say in the scene.
Yeah, they're offline.
The package.
That's right. That's exactly correct. Well,
then hold on, one last thing there.
I'm sorry.
When they go to the highly secure entrance of the facility, and it's a DNA sniffer.
Oh,
Why would
Yeah.
Bernard's DNA allow him to access a room that he's not supposed to be in or have knowledge of? You wouldn't have it open up to him. And also, they identify him. Charlotte says the hosts don't want to do anything to you because they know you're not a threat.
Okay, I have an idea on that one. Charlotte says that what she says to Bernard is that I'm not walking you in, right? And I think what that actually was, that DNA sniffer was, it tells the host that the DNA of this thing that is touching the handle is not a threat. Like she's basically keying him in to security. As an RA who worked many years on the ASU campus, it's like checking a person in so security knows this guy's okay.
I got you.
That's right. Yeah, so the drone bots don't attack him. That's right. But the last topic that we're going to talk about on the deep dive before we get ready for the Telegraph is Bernard's flashbacks. There was a lot of them, even more that I missed the first time I watched it. Going back and exploring it, there's a lot that he seems to be going through seizures almost, and we're seeing stuff that's happening during these flashbacks. We're seeing certain characters like Peter Abernathy. We're seeing possible time jumps. What all did you guys see as part of his flashbacks?
There's a lot of things that went by pretty quickly. And at first glance, Raj, I thought that they were just references back to season 1. Like, you know, that's the cheap way that shows fill time. Oh, let's flashback to season 1 real quick. And then I realized that none of that was recycled footage, that it's stuff that we hadn't seen before. And again, the Abernathy scene, you know, you've seen Abernathy in pain, being run through diagnostics and having his glitches. But this is a different Abernathy that we saw, which would indicate to me that between the night of Ford's killing and Bernard having these flashbacks, he did find Abernathy at some point and is aware of where he is and what happened to him.
Also, the network connection that you talked about, the way that the hosts communicate with each other, almost like a hive mentality, that would explain some of Bernard's flashbacks, that they're not his own thoughts. Those are the collective feelings and memories of all of the Bernards. We saw last season a flashback when Bernard asked Dr. Ford, have you made me do bad things before? And he has a flashback to attacking Elsie in that theater. We questioned whether that was Bernard. That could very well be, you said, a secondary Bernard who's running off in the background and doing the bidding of Dr. Ford, and he's not even aware of it. So these aren't all Bernard's memories, but kind of a collective.
Dolores mentions to Teddy that she can not only see her past, but she can also see her future. Now, one might say, okay, well, of course she's going to be able to see her future now because she's a woke host, because she's
woke.
She's woke. She's
Westworld.
Westworld. She's reliving a narrative that she's already done before, so therefore she can see her future. But in Bernard's case, are any of these possible flash forwards? Are any of these possibly pre-programmed things that have already happened to him? But he's seen them in the future.
I see what you're saying. So in the sense of programming, if there's a destiny for a host and it's pre-written for them, right?
Correct.
There's a fatalistic view of it.
It's like Minority
if
Report.
Something goes wrong in if there's something goes wrong in your wiring, say it's like you're playing a DVD and suddenly it skips forward.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah,
I just went to a DVD.
where are we?
I'm very current.
Are we now?
Yeah, it's Spaceballs. Exactly.
But did you also, at the end, the big line that everybody's keying in on, when Bernard is overlooking the sea or the bay and all of the hosts laying, he mumbles, I killed them. Some people are also thinking that he says he killed them, that it's an I, he.
No.
You're not hearing any of that?
No, I apologize. Not to discredit you, Big D, because
no, I'm not.
We're going to do that. I watched it on with the subtitles. Gene did as well. He definitely says I ... And then but there's
it's very clearly.
It's very clearly I. But
people are crazy.
But I did thought I saw Elsie floating in the water.
Yes, thank you.
I thought I saw her, and then you see, but then you see Teddy. Could that be a little bad robot? J.J. Abrams red herring. Could they have just done some clever editing to show you one character, it really is Elsie, but then you do the close-up of Teddy's face? Or is it just Teddy?
I still think it looked like Elsie. And like that black that outfits that they wear when they go into the park. I think it's likely. But again, who knows? And are they really dead? Have we ever seen a host really dead?
I don't understand why Bernard gets hit on the ground and is, leaking fluid, and it's a critical failure, but yet Hector has like 15 bullet holes in him and he's still alive and kicking.
Well, I mean, again, I think it might be something where they're taking advantage of, like, again, the leaking part of it may have been set up ahead of time, or it might be the vintage of his model. It could be a lot of things. I don't think that leaking out of the ear happened just from him falling down. I was kind of making a joke about that. I think that it's a greater error that he might fizzle out every now and then.
Yeah, and you got to remember that I was believing that injury was from when he shot himself in the head at Ford's request when he was down in cold storage. But it doesn't jive with, we've seen hosts get shot in the head and they're protective. That cortex, does a pretty good job of protecting them. So it doesn't seem like it's from that. Because how did they not identify that injury when Sylvester was fixing him in cold storage? He would have seen it. And if it's a simple blow to the head, or could it be that they opened up Bernard to work on him and didn't seal him up right, and that's why he's leaking?
Well, it could be a lot of things, but again, getting back to what happened to him in this period of time, or at least the flashbacks that he's seeing, we see Sizemore and Maeve going to that room full of the dead people, right. But you see Bernard in his flashback with the submachine gun blasting away. Right. It seems in that same room.
And there's also the scene when he's in the control room and Ghost Nation is in there attacking and killing all of the employees. Bernard almost takes a knee and looks disgusted. He looks distraught at what's going on. Like he was tricked into opening the gate. But then you mentioned that he has the gun out, just shooting gleefully. There's a disjoint in his motives and his actions.
And then what about him seeing Dolores in that dress, though? Again, Dolores we've never seen her in a non-period outfit, and she's clearly wearing a modern black dress. Is this Maeve or is this them leaving the park? What is he seeing here?
He could be seeing also not only people leaving the park, but because he has what is the word, proselythagia? He has face blindness.
It's prosopagnosia.
He could be possibly seeing Dolores when it's actually another host, or vice versa.
But remember, we see in one of the first trailers, I think it was the Super Bowl trailer, where there's a dinner party and Logan is there. Mm-hmm. That's the party where Bernard and Dolores are. So I'm imagining that William leaves the park. He goes back to Logan's father, takes control of the company, says, hey, we need to invest. We need to buy a major share. The father wants to see these hosts in action. Bernard takes a small group of them to this dinner party that's off of Westworld. And that also explains Bernard's dream about the ocean.
Agreed.
That he's on an ocean with the other host. He's there. This could explain an earlier trip out of the park.
Ooh.
Full circle, Big D.
Wow. Someone just blew my little white thing that I have underneath my
your LED bulb.
Yeah.
Your fluorescent bulb.
Yeah.
They really spared no expense on that design, by the way.
I love all the memes that are coming out where they're like, you could build an advanced host AI robot, but it's still going to be the old Atari NES cartridge where you just have to blow on it a little bit, relieve the dust out of it before you put it into your console.
My trip was like tapping the top, and you had to kind of like push the game down in there to kind of jiggle it. But the blowing always worked.
The blowing always worked. Right. Well, anything else we want to talk about before we wrap up shop and get ready for our Westworld Telegraph, which is our where we take the best fan email theories of the week, read them, and respond to them.
The only thing I just wanted to ask, kind of in a closing question, watching it a second time, I was a little surprised at how widespread and catastrophic the outbreak had gotten. I still think they possibly could have contained it. Were you surprised that this small uprising spread throughout the park and their QA was not able to shut it down?
It's just like any other theme park incident, right? I mean, Disney won't allow real statistics out of their park. They still won't let you know accurate death numbers that occur. Like, or people who get injured on going to Space Mountain. When someone loses a hand on Space Mountain, and I bet your ass people have lost hands on Space Mountain, they don't let the public know that. They don't publicly disclose any of that information. So it'd probably be the same situation here. There's so much money invested, and it's just one of several parks, so they're probably not shutting down the entire island. They're trying to contain it. That's why they're surprised that they see a Bengal tiger this far out from where it should be.
There goes our Disney sponsorship.
Yeah. E-cigarettes.
It's it's only one of two options. It's either a perfect storm of Maeve, Dr. Ford's new narrative, and maybe Charlotte trying to get IP out of the park, all work together to create this perfect storm that allowed the whole system to fail, or it was intentional.
Jurassic Park.
Mm-hmm.
Who brought in that bear?
Yeah, I want to know that. I like the animals.
Yeah, there's a raccoon. We got a wolf.
Yeah, I like it.
Well, that does it for this week's deep dive episode. If you have any thoughts, theories, ideas, please email them to us, hosts@shatontv.com. Again, that email address is hosts@shatontv.com. Every email that we receive, we will put on our website, shatontv.com, where you can read and respond and join the conversation there with other listeners like yourselves. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button so you don't miss an episode of Shat on TV's Westworld coverage. This season, we do 3 episodes a week. Please share with a friend. Please rate and review us everywhere on iTunes or wherever you get your fine podcasts. Be sure to follow us on social media. We're everywhere, including Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, DelosDestinations.com. Have you guys
iHeartRadio?
Have you guys created your own little avatars yet on the Westworld mobile app game?
I was kind of waiting for you to do it for me.
Yeah, little microtransactions.
I'm a 40-year-old man. I don't create avatars.
Yeah, okay. But we will be back later. I think, what are we going to record on Thursday? So if you get in your emails by Wednesday, we'll take the best ones. And even if we don't respond to yours specifically, we will put it up on our website. Thank you so much for listening. On behalf of my two... What?
Do you want to talk about the movies?
Oh, yeah. Also, if you like what we do here at Shat on TV, go check out our sister podcast, Shat the Movies, where we review 80s and 90s movies based on audience voting participation. I think we just did Speed 2, and we've got 2 other movies in the hopper.
Yeah, Big Lebowski and Showgirls.
Oh, I can't wait for that one with our friend Carrie Gross. So,
but we've done 70 movies so far. So,
if you don't like writing emails, we also set up a voicemail where you can call in and leave your Westworld theories. That voicemail number is 914-719-SHAT. 914-719-SHAT. You can leave a voicemail there, and if we like it, we'll play it and we'll respond to it. That's it. Anything else? Did I miss anything? Are we good? I know it's our first deep dive.
Pro tip, if you want to get your voicemail played on the podcast, keep it short and sweet.
Yeah, and have an accent.
Yeah, and have an accent. That helps.
Thank you so much for listening. On behalf of my 2 co-hosts, Big D and Gene, an adequate Sizemore Lions, my name is Roger Roper. Thank you. Take care. Good night. And we will see you next time down in Westworld.